is that? Lissy, come here. It's Betty's hat. She was here. She could still be in there. Betty? Betty!
Are you sure, Edward? I mean, it's just a hat. Is it even a hat? I'm not sure.
I know my sister's hat, Lissy. I have to get inside.
What about the breaking and entering part?
I could care less what they call it. Here's an open window.
You seem eager to break the law. I approve.
It won't budge.
Nah, don't be a milquetoast.
Well, it's stuck.
Attaboy, Teddy. You can do this.
I can't believe I'm actually breaking... Whoops, Daisy.
Oh my, Teddy. You're such a sap. Edward Charles Hawkins, dilettante, world traveler, cat burglar.
A cat burglar would, by definition, enter a building on a higher floor.
The state of this place.
Oh, Betty.
Edward.
I hope you weren't here when...
Is this... blood?
Not necessarily human blood.
Well, that's all right then. What does it say? Barn murder? Someone murdered a barn?
Barn means child. And mortar, that's...
Child murder. Edward, they murdered a child?
Someone thought so.
Probably the same someone who vandalized the store.
I'm not sure how I feel about being in here.
Don't be ridiculous. We're all alone. What else do you suggest we do? It's been cut. Why?
To remove someone from the picture.
That's just rude.
It's from the opening of the mine in 1897. That's Frederick, Johann's brother.
And the boy could be the younger brother who died.
Frederick clearly did not want anything to do with his twin brother. Out of order.
Why hasn't it been fixed?
Perhaps there wasn't much demand for it anymore. These were never sent.
How long have they been piling up?
I received Mrs. Fretland's letter in June, and they received my letter from July.
A couple of months. Perhaps the world forgot about Grovik. What are you doing?
Looking for keys.
Your life of crime continues.
There's a note.
Is it written in Viking runes? What does it say?
It's from Simon. Yai put it means I put. Knuckle is key. Casa. I don't know what that word means.
He put the key in the casa?
Casa. I wish I had my dictionary. The note's addressed to his father.
So the key was moved. But where to?
Somewhere safer. Or more convenient.
Can we really trust your translations? You only started studying a month ago.
I spent the summer reading, and I had a lot of free time on the ocean voyage.
Come on, how much could you possibly pick up in a few months?
You know my mind, it's a sponge. Why would Frederick keep a list of what he calls traitors?
What did they do to him?
Cross him in some way. Why else keep a list of undesirables? Damnation. The hat's in here.
Calm down, old boy. Anyway, how's the hat going to help us?
Who knows what else is in here? There could be more clues.
All right. Okay. Everything's Jake. We made it into the store. I'm sure we'll find a way through that door.
Casa.
So that's what it means. Cash register. You're a genuine gangster now, old fruit. Don't worry. If you get busted, I'll come visit you in the big house. Wasn't there supposed to be a key?
Here it is. It is her hat.
Teddy, I'm not sure
Betty
that's...
was here, and not long ago.
Okay. But if that is her hat, what's it doing in a locked storeroom?
Another breadcrumb.
That's not an answer.
I know for sure she was here. That's what matters.
You know best, Edward. So, what now? If this is a breadcrumb, where's the next one?
There must be a reason her hat's in this room.
What's that?
A handwritten note.
I'm not blind. What does it say, you silly goose?
It's hard to read. I'm not sure my translation will be... Johann, you... Nectar. Refuse. You refuse to speak to me, so I write this letter instead. It's from Frederick Fretland to his brother. Simon did not... Bloody hell. Simon did not murder your Ruth. He was fond of his cousin.
Ruth? Ruth is the daughter of Anna and Johann, which means the little girl in the photograph at the farmhouse. Oh, Edward, the Fretland girl was murdered. This is simply awful.
Simon was working at the farm while I tended to the store. I would have seen him had he passed on the way up to the cliffs.
They thought Simon killed Ruth. His own cousin.
Ruth was... what's that word? Playing. Ruth was always playing on the rocks below the church. She must have fallen by accident. The note ends there. Frederick never finished it. And Johann never read it. Not that it would have made a difference. If Johann thought...
The mob showed up for Simon. His father would have tried to protect him.
September 17th. You would have been here, Betty.
Rocks below the church. Isn't the church right above us? Edward, come look at this. That's the cliff. Right there. The one in the note? I bet you 1,000,000 clams.
Where?
See for yourself.
I guess that could be where...
Let's check it out.
No, Lissy, wait.
I found it, Teddy. The cliff. I'm standing right below it.
What are you doing? This doesn't concern
A
us.
little girl died. We're staying in her home, for God's sake. Are you completely without heart? Get yourself up here, Edward Harden, right this minute.
Lissy?
No need to shout. Come on, it's an easy climb.
This looks very dangerous.
Oh, you're a big boy. Start acting like it. It's not Mount Everest.
I don't know about this. Whoops-a-daisy. What is this?
Where little Ruth died.
You're being morbid. And this is a distraction. I'm here for Betty, not because some girl
Edward.
got herself...
You insensitive brute. You're like the Tin Woodman, no heart. You know, you've grown cold and mean in that horrid study of yours, with only books and bugs to keep you company for years and years and years. There are other people in this world, you know. It's not all about you. You're going to do this. If not for Ruth, then for us. We're going to figure out what happened to the poor girl. Together. Is that blood?
The girl could have hit her head on that rock. There would have been plenty of blood.
That's awful. I think there's something behind it. Can you move the rock aside? It must be Ruth's.
Where's the head?
Maybe the killer also decapitates dolls.
Hold on. This pin. This is old. Very old. Looks like something from the Viking era.
We are in the land of Vikings.
This could be 1,000 years old. It does not belong on a child's doll.
Who cares? Ruth is dead and you're obsessing about a rusty old pin? Let's go further up. Maybe we'll find more clues. Come on, old sport. It's not far.
Can you wait just 1 minute so that I can catch my breath? Huh? Did you follow the same path, Betty? Or am I just stumbling through darkness?
You can see clear beyond the edge of the world.
One
Oh,
second.
Teddy bear. We need to take you out walking more often.
So, the girl fell from up here.
Was pushed, you mean? Can you see where she fell? Seeing as you're so concerned about me falling out of trees, I wouldn't want to risk falling off a cliff.
Certainly high enough to kill a child.
If I had to go, this would be the way to do it. Soaring through the air like a bird.
And landing like a rock. If she fell headfirst on that rock, she'd have died instantly.
Edward, honestly.
You wanted to learn more. This is you learning more. She hit her head and fell into the bush where I found her doll. Happy now, Alice?
I'm not. What was she doing up here in the first place?
Playing? She was a child. Children play in dangerous places.
There must be more to it. Let's find out where this path leads.
No, absolutely not. I don't have time for this nonsense. We're running out of daylight, and Betty's still... You're still out there. Lissy! Slow down. I can't keep up with you. Who knows what's up there? It's not worth the risk of falling and breaking something. Lissy? Are you there?
Teddy,
My word. Look away, Lissy.
is this what happened to the villagers? They killed themselves?
It's one body. Let's not jump to conclusions.
What about those fresh graves at the church? There were at least half a dozen of them. Did everyone just die?
They're not necessarily connected.
Oh, come on. Ugh, this is just ghastly. What made him do this? How long has he been...
From the state of the body, perhaps a couple of weeks. It depends on temperature and humidity, of course.
What does that say?
God forgive me.
Don't suicides go to hell? Isn't that what your father said when
Stop.
your mother
Don't.
drowned herself? Sorry. Who was he? One of the Fretlanders?
It's not Johann or Frederick. And he's too old to be Simon.
Do you think this has something to do with Ruth? Maybe she came across the hanged man before she died, and it scared her. So she ran,
No.
and
This happened later.
there's some consolation in that, I guess. Maybe it's the killer. The guilt ate him up, and he offed himself.
That's just speculation with no basis in fact. There's nothing more to do here. I'm going back. Let the poor soul rest in peace.
Does it look like he's resting in peace? You're just going to leave him hanging? You're an insensitive brute.
I'm here for Betty. It's tragic, but really none of my concern.
Betty, always just Betty. You don't care about anyone else. Look at me when I'm talking to you. What if that was me up there? Would you care then? All you do is obsess over a scarf and a hat and ugh.
It's all I have of Betty.
Betty, there she is again. Edward, the hanged man, he's someone. No matter what he did or didn't do, he deserves respect. Would you please just do this one decent deed? If not for me, then for yourself. Or for your Betty.
I'm going to be sick. I can't do this.
Yes, you can. Teddy. Edward. I know you can. You've been through much worse. Where are the Fretlands, Edward?
It's been 2 days. If they're not back tonight,
They're not coming back.
perhaps they left after their daughter died.
Was murdered, you mean? Isn't that what we think happened?
Perhaps she fell by accident.
So you don't think it was murder?
It's difficult to say with any certainty. The boy could have pushed her.
You're really not helping.
Can we talk about this tomorrow? I'm sorry.
You're exhausted.
I buried a corpse today, Alice.
I know. I'm sorry. Why don't you sleep in the guest bedroom?
The couch is fine. The Fretlands could still come home.
All right. Just don't come crying to me if you wake up with a crick in your neck. I'll be up for a while, if you feel like talking.
I really thought I'd find Betty today.
Well, I told you not to get your hopes up, Edward. I mean, we just got here. It's a big place. She could be anywhere.
It's just the thought of her alone out there. In the dark.
She's a tough cookie. Your Betty. Tougher than you, teddy bear.
That she is. I feel restless.
You should sleep.
I'm not sure I can. But yes, I'll try. In a bit.
What did you find?
Someone tried to burn this.
Just like the book. Isn't that odd?
It's addressed to Mrs. Fretland. My dearest Anna. It's from her sister, Margaret. Frederick's wife. The two brothers married sisters, remember?
Yes, and it's adorable. Keep reading.
I really shouldn't.
Really? How else are we going to figure out what happened? Keep reading.
My dearest Anna, I miss you so very, very much. The baby is due soon, and I wish for our family to reunite before... It's been 7 years since the dreadful incident at the mine. Can we not convince Frederick and Johann to forgive and forget? I know there are things Frederick has not told me about what they found and why they parted ways. Their grudge is tearing us all apart. Frederick won't even let me speak to half of our neighbors, accusing them of treason. He's so very angry and full of regrets. It's eating him up. And we...
And we what?
The rest is unreadable.
Margaret reached out to her sister, but I guess it didn't work.
This was written before Simon was born, but burned recently.
It's almost painful to look at this photograph now. Their whole world fell apart. Ugh, I can't bear to think about it. Do you think Simon killed Ruth?
It's not important what I think.
I don't know what to believe. Sometimes children do monstrous things. Now that we know what happened to Ruth, this empty house is even spookier.
It's a house, nothing more.
You know better than most that souls can linger. Especially if they died
There's no such thing as a soul.
life force, ghost, whatever. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
The only ghosts are in our minds.
Says you.
The two brothers married twin sisters, Anna and Margaret Taylor. That's the Grovik stave church behind them.
All those hopes and dreams, ground to dust by misfortune.
I almost forgot putting this aside when I lit the fire. Wasn't there an inscription inside?
Simon. Simon gave that book to Ruth. But who burned it?
Johann or Anna, if they believed Simon killed her.
But they were friendly, right? Simon and Ruth. Before...
I imagine so. And we know the sisters were close.
I still don't understand why the brothers had a falling out.
Whatever drove a wedge between them, it was big. Johann and Frederick Fretland. Thick as thieves, before things took a turn.
Don't you always say that much of our pain is self-chosen?
I wonder about that.
It's the same photograph we saw in the store.
Except this one's whole.
So the brother who owns the store...
Frederick.
...was angry with Johann before Ruth. Because
Because of the mine. It all comes back to the mine.
the mine must have been a big deal for Greywoke.
Grovik. An opportunity to do more than live hand to mouth.
What a blow it must have been to lose it all.
These headlines make more sense now. Johann sells his share, and the cave-in occurs shortly thereafter, killing 3 people.
Including the younger brother.
The investor pulls out, leaving Frederick with the bills.
Oh, I feel awful for everyone. Losing a brother, losing the business.
There were no happy endings here.
What are you doing?
Betty will want these back.
I don't think it's healthy.
Not now, please. I'm exhausted.
Quite the day, huh?
I'm ready to pass out. Where will you sleep?
I'll be up for a while. My mind's simply racing.
Don't stay up late. Wake me if you hear the Fretlands arriving.
Of course. And I'll keep my eyes open for any ghosts that might want to haunt you in your sleep.
There are no...
Hush now. Sleep. This is her room.
Hmm?
Are you paying attention? Ruth. Can you imagine? One moment you're living a perfectly happy life, and then... nothing. Darkness. Forever and ever. Maybe there's something here that can tell us what happened to her.
This is a waste of my time.
We might be the only ones left to tell her story, Edward.
You're just being melodramatic. I'll help you look.
Ruth was an artist.
This is very primitive.
Have you ever met a child, Edward? She wasn't Monet, she was 8. Ruth never finished this. What does that spell? F-O-R-B.
For Banelson. The curse.
Who's that figure supposed to be? It's creepy.
A figment of her imagination. But the box she drew... It looks like this box under her desk.
Really? Let me see, pull it out. What is this?
I believe this might qualify as actual treasure.
Is that Norwegian money?
Sort of, but ancient. Viking coins.
Are they valuable?
Not in terms of monetary value, but historically. Well, they belong in a museum.
Looks like Ruth had her own private museum.
Why would a child have these artifacts?
She must have enjoyed collecting and playing with them.
These are much too precious to play with. She should have given these to an adult.
She was a child, Edward. To her, they were just shiny toys. Wait! The pin. On the doll.
This is where it came from, her collection.
But where did she find these treasures?
A dig, a grave site. Wherever she found them, she wanted to keep them hidden.
You think someone found out?
These items wouldn't necessarily be worth much, except to a historian or archaeologist.
What if this is how... I mean, if someone learned she'd been collecting treasures, they might be willing to do terrible things.
There's still no sign of the Fretlands.
Maybe they left town after Ruth died.
What's the point of this? I should be looking for Betty.
I hate you sometimes.
What am I looking for?
Anything out of the ordinary. Something that could explain what happened to Ruth.
This is real life, not a whodunit by Agatha Christie. There won't be a convenient series of clues leading to a tidy conclusion.
Says you.
This is a waste of time.
Edward! You horrid man! Sorry. Please stay. I can't stand the thought of Ruth tossed aside because you're too busy to care. She made her bed that morning. Before she...
Or her parents did. It doesn't matter. It tells us nothing.
Why are you like this today? Betty's not the only person in the world that matters.
She matters the most to me.
Ain't that the truth? That must be Ruth and Simon's fathers.
Perhaps. They weren't on the best of terms.
They look like they want to kill each other.
To a child, maybe it looked worse than it was.
Children are more insightful than you give them credit for, Teddy Bear.
Draugen.
Hey, the undead monster from those folk tales you read.
What an odd book for a child to have.
I don't know. Children love scary stories. This looks interesting. Read some of it to me, please.
In Norwegian folklore, the appearance of Draugen, the reanimated corpse of a drowned mariner, heralds death. Draugen haunts the Black Seas in a shattered boat. The beast has a man's body and wears a sou'wester, but instead of a head, there is tangled seaweed, and the revenant's chilling cry freezes mortal blood to ice. Draugen has the power to enter the dreams of the living. If you wake from such a dream, you have been spared, though someone close to you... That's enough of that. It's nonsense, of course. Not something a child should be reading.
Do you think Draugen took our boat? Maybe he's out there, on the fjord, waiting for nightfall so he can return to shore.
No.
And... Your soul lacks poetry, Edward Charles Harden. I pity you. This must be the village church. That's Ruth and her family on one side of the aisle. Simon and his father on the other.
A community divided. There's nothing here.
What about these drawings? They could be important. She found something.
Where's that supposed to be?
A cave. Or the...
Mine. It could be. But what did she find?
Her Viking treasure. Of course. There's a story here. The treasure box, the drawings.
The overactive mind of an imaginative child.
Well, she didn't imagine the Viking artifacts. You shouldn't be so dismissive. The drawings could be her way of dealing with traumatic events.
This is what happens when I read you the principles of psychology. You get notions.
You say that like it's a bad thing. Ruth was troubled. The village was troubled, and... Is that a bell?
The church bell. Someone's here. Maybe... Betty.
Why would Betty ring the church bell?
Perhaps she's in trouble. I need to get to the church right now.
Wait, isn't it more likely to be the person you saw the other night? We should be careful.
I told you, I'm not sure that was anything. Come on.
Go ahead. I'll catch up with you before you get there. I need a minute to think about all of this. All these fresh graves. Do you think that maybe
No.
Betty...
I'd know.
But...
You wouldn't understand. Elizabeth and I, we have a bond.
God, Edward. Your obsession with her is really starting to grate.
No one's touched these since yesterday. Regardless of how they got past the wards, there's someone in there.
Who did this?
Someone who'd lost their faith.
Gone fishing?
God is not here.
Well, of course he isn't. You won't find God in a church. God is the wind in the trees, the grass between your toes, the brook that runs
That's
through...
nature, not God.
Can you peek through the boards? See anyone?
No,
Listen! The bell! They're still in there!
Hello? I heard the bell!
Oh, this is giving me
I'm
the
here to help.
heebie-jeebies.
These boards look flimsy enough to break.
Look at that. The Ethel becomes an Edward. I didn't think you had it in you, old fruit.
Be quiet. Betty? Are you here? Hello? This is Edward Harden. I'm looking for my sister, Elizabeth.
Stop shouting, Edward. We're alone. There are only ghosts here.
There are no ghosts.
I don't know about that. What's this rope for?
The bell.
This is the bell we heard ringing?
I don't see any other bells.
So you have to stand here and pull this rope to ring it.
Yes.
But there was no one here. You didn't see anyone, right?
No. No one.
Ghosts. I'm telling you. It's ghosts! So what happened to the Hunchback of Grovik?
They must be here still. There's only the one exit.
Maybe it was the wind.
A church bell's too heavy. It can't have been the wind. I mean... I don't know. Maybe it was the wind. There's no one here.
I don't like that sound. Please stop.
Lissy, look. Betty's gloves. They are definitely Betty's.
Oh, for
She got
Pete's
these
sake.
in Boston before she left for New York. She bought them at Woolworth. I remember the day she... She's here.
Where? And why would she leave her clothes lying around? It doesn't make sense.
Breadcrumbs. She's sending me a message. She knew I'd recognize her gloves, her hat. She's left a trail for me to follow, like Ariadne's red thread.
We're not in a labyrinth.
Betty will have left more crumbs.
Betty, 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 you're turning into such a pill.